When was the last time you failed at something? Have a think now. Could be something really big, could be something really small. Now, as you're thinking about it, how does it feel? Probably not great, because failure is one of the things that we all fear the most. It really, really sucks. But in this video, I'm going to be talking about failure and convincing you that failure is actually one of the best things that can happen to you. What do I mean by that? Stay tuned. Okay, so to illustrate my point on failure, and I know you're not convinced yet, that failure is one of the best things that can happen to you, I'm going to be talking about something called growth mindset and fixed mindset. But before we get started, hit that subscribe button for weekly revision tips out every Tuesday evening. Okay, so growth mindset and fixed mindset may be something you've heard of before, might have heard it from your teachers, but it's essentially a concept that every teacher lives by. It's one of the main things that they try and instill in the students that they teach. And what it comes from is this really, really important study by someone called Carol Dweck. And what she found was it wasn't the things that you might expect that make people successful in later life. She looks at a variety of different students and she found it wasn't the things that you might expect that made students successful in later life. It wasn't natural intelligence, it wasn't talent, it wasn't popularity, it wasn't good looks, or any of the other things that you might think might breed success. It came down to one thing: how they dealt with failure. And she categorized the students into two different mindsets. The first mindset is fixed mindset. And effectively, fixed mindset people fear failure. And because they fear that failure, they don't push themselves as hard because they're protecting themselves from that feeling that they get when they fail at something. And that could be anything within their life. It could be in their schoolwork, it could be in social situations, whatever it is, sporting situations. They're not pushing themselves to the point of failure. Now, people with growth mindset, on the other hand, don't feel failure. Instead, they learn from it. They keep pushing themselves past the point of failure, and then when that failure inevitably happens, which is always going to do because they're pushing themselves so hard, they mentally note it and learn from it. They might feel a bit bad about failing, but they don't allow that to overcome them. They make sure that they learn from the failure. Now, I think this concept of growth mindset and fixed mindset is one of the most important things that I've ever understood in terms of being successful in things that I want to achieve myself. I went through most of school and university thinking that my abilities were pretty fixed. I always thought, I seem to be good at science and I'm getting good feedback, but I'm not very good at maths and therefore I'll never be good at maths. Same with sports. I was not particularly good on the sporting field and therefore I thought I'd never be good at it. But actually now I play a lot of sport and am actually pretty good at it because I've developed that skill. Because what it comes down to is that we're all going to fail many times throughout our lives. And the better we deal with it, the better our outcome will be. So it could be small things like embarrassing yourself a little bit in front of your friendship group, or being late for something, or doing badly on a certain bit of work. Or maybe it's something bigger like not getting your first choice university, not getting a job, or having a relationship breakdown. These things are going to happen throughout our lives, and the main driver for how we deal with it is how we view failure, whether we have growth mindset or whether we have fixed mindset. So I'll give you a few examples in terms of revision of what growth mindset and fixed mindset looks like, and try and apply the scenarios to your own life to see if you have the fixed mindset or the growth mindset. Let's say you got a mark back from your teacher on an assignment or a past paper or something like that, and it's not as good as you're expecting. Now, someone with fixed mindset who fears that failure will try and cover up the fact perhaps that they haven't done as well as they might have done. They might they might feel really bad and dwell on that feeling, and then maybe even throw the past paper in the bin and then pretend like it never happened. Someone with growth mindset though is going to do something different. They're going to ask questions, they're going to analyze that paper, see where they lost those marks. They're going to go ask the teacher what they could do better. They could understand from their mates what they can do better next time. They're going to analyze the failure, they're going to harness that feeling, and they're going to use it to make themselves better. Essentially, they're going to learn from that failure. They're not going to avoid the feeling that they get. So other areas that you could fail in during revision time, maybe it's taking you much longer to understand a concept than other people. When that happens, do you just forget about that topic and pretend it doesn't exist? Or do you keep going until you understand it? Maybe you spent a day revising and you were really unfocused for the whole thing and you feel really demotivated because you feel like you failed that day of revision. Do you pretend like it never happened and then allow it to affect your days going forward? Or do you say, look, today is a new day and I'm going to pick myself up and make sure that I'm learning today? So before we go on to some action steps for how you can start to develop growth mindset in this revision period, I want to share some failings that I've had recently. And one really good example is this YouTube channel that I'm doing right now. Now, the first few videos that I released got quite a few views, and they were mostly from my friends. And then ever since that point, they were going down and down and down in viewership. So if you look on my channel, I've probably got like 40 views, and then 30 views, and then 20 views for some of my videos. Now, this to me felt like failure, and I thought, what am I doing wrong? It didn't feel great. But instead of quitting, which to be honest at times crossed my mind, I thought, okay, what am I going to do to learn from this failure? What am I doing wrong to not get this video in front of the right people, which is hopefully you who's watching this now. So I started to research how YouTube worked. I started learning about search engine optimization and how to get your titles the best they can, and how to analyze what you guys are searching on YouTube. And again, as you can see from my viewership, they're not huge numbers yet, but they are going up and up. And the most important thing is that they're going in front of the right people now. So this is an example of how I didn't fear the failure. I used it as a time that I could learn from. So how do you apply that mindset to your revision time? Number one, exam analysis. Now, whether you did really well in an exam paper or you did absolutely terribly, doesn't really matter. When you get feedback from a past paper that you've done from your teacher, you don't actually want to focus on the parts that you did right. Of course, if you did really well, celebrate it, but then start to analyze the points that you failed. Because there are going to be certain things that you continue to fail at throughout your time within a subject or across them. So maybe you're failing at exam technique. Maybe it's certain topics that you don't understand as well as others that are letting you down. Maybe it's times that you're stressed, that you're not doing as well in those tests. Whatever it is, you need to start analysing the points at which you are failing. And once you've analysed where those fail points are, you can start to improve on them. You can start to learn how to get better. Number two, start to share your failures with others. Now, I think this is a really good habit to get into. If there's something that you haven't done as well in, it's really empowering to just say it to people. Don't try and cover it up and pretend everything's okay, or you've done really well in everything at school or in your social life or whatever. If you fail, just talk about it openly. And people really respect that, and also people generally connect with that because they're also failing. The truth is, everybody fails at so many things throughout their lives, and someone who's confident enough to share the fact that they failed with something. So in the spirit of sharing failures, please do comment on anything that you failed on recently in the comments below. It can be literally anything in your own life, and trust me, it's going to feel great. Okay, so I hope this has been a useful video. It's a slightly different format to usual, but food for thought there. Hope it helps with your revision, and until next time, keep on failing.